Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 4, going to present Perwaja Steel Sdn Bhd for our case study. Our group member is Armizi, me, Nawal, Fatin, and also Afikah. The person that going to present this case study is me and Mizi. This is what we're going to cover in our presentation, and I'm going to present point number 1 until 3, and the rest is going to present by Mizi. Okay, I'm going to explain a little bit the case overview of Perwaja Steel. Perwaja Steel started in 1982 as a joint venture between government-owned company, Heavy Industry Corporation, known as HICOM, and the Japanese company Nippon Steel Corporation. This is the like a showcase from Tun Dr. Mahathir as a push for industrialization. A steel plant cost 1 billion was built in Terengganu to supply the domestic needs for steel product. So can you imagine 1 billion in 1982 is such a quite huge amount. Okay, and from the beginning, Perwaja encountered production problem and was saddled with large debt since the borrowing were in yen, which appreciated significantly at that time, and then the interest payment getting higher. In 1987, Nippon Steel pulled out of the project, and then after that, Tun Dr. Mahathir brought his friend Eric Chia in 1988 to run Perwaja, so that Eric Chia could turn around the Perwaja and maybe give a hope for Perwaja. Eric was given full authority to do what was necessary to reverse Perwaja performance and reported directly to Tun Dr. Mahathir. Okay, and then another 2 billion was pumped into Perwaja with government funding and loan from Bank Bumiputra and also EPF. What Bank Bumiputra around 860 million, and from EPF 130 million. And then a new facility were built in Terengganu and also in Kedah, in Gurun Kedah. Okay, and Eric, being as a managing director for Perwaja for 7 years, seems like he has succeeded until when he resigned. He suddenly resigned in 1995. It became clear that that was not the case. Okay, he's not really success. When he resigned, the losses has increased to 2.49 billion from 1 billion when Eric Chia took over, and now Perwaja was crippled by additional debt amounting 5.7 billion. Okay, Perwaja Holding Berhad is a Malaysian-based investment holding company, where is a manufacturer of primary steel product. This company is a joint venture with Terengganu State Government with 19% stake, and Nippon Steel Corporation from Japan with 30% shares, while Heavy Industry Corporation of Malaysia (HICOM) is a government agency with the major shareholder 51% stake in the company. Okay, Perwaja is the largest steel producer with a range of products including direct reduced iron (DRI), beam blanks, bloom, billet, and many more, with a huge tons of steel annually. Okay, Perwaja Holding Berhad has two subsidiaries, which is Perwaja Steel Sdn Berhad and also Esteem Score Sdn Berhad. The one that we are going to discuss is a Perwaja Steel Sdn Berhad, which is the company that has corporate governance issue. Okay. In 1997, Perwaja Steel was privatized to Maju Holdings Sdn Berhad, and in 2008, Perwaja went public with associate initial public giving worth of 2.90 ringgit, and was listed within the main board of Bursa Malaysia underneath the company of Perwaja Holding Berhad. Okay, for board of director description part, actually I didn't find the name of board of director at the Eric Chia era. I only know that Eric Chia is the managing director at that time, and I didn't find if there is any other board of director. Okay, so I'm just going to present the one that I found in 2000 year annual report, which is from Perwaja Holdings Sdn Berhad. Okay, there is 5 board of director, and the another one is the such as like a alternate director to Tan Sri Peng Yin Hua. Okay, from 5 of them, 3 of them is a independent non-executive director, and another 2 is non-independent non-executive director. Okay, so according to Malaysian Code of Corporate Governance 2012, okay, the chairman must be non-independent director, and seems like Ong Tigi Tong is non-executive director. Point number 2 is at least half or more of the board are independent director, and we can see there are 3 of them are independent non-executive director from 5 of them, so they are follow the MCCG 2012. And the next point is must 30% movement in the boardroom, but only one woman director, which is Miss Lim Chiu Ying, comprises of 20% women in the boardroom. And then the last is the appointment of the director must not more than 9 years, and we can see that all of them is not more than 9 years. Only one of them, Datuk Sri Peng Yin Hua, was appointed in June 2008, which is almost 9 years, but not yet 9 years, in 2005. And actually in annual report 2015, we can see a clear corporate governance report, meaning that Perwaja Holding really put into effort to follow the guideline of code of corporate governance. So meaning that the only problem of corporate governance is from Perwaja Steel, which is the old Perwaja. So I'm going to give Mizi to continue our presentation.
Next topic that we will discuss is on the corporate governance issues in Perwaja Steel Sdn Berhad. There are a lot of issues in Perwaja Steel Sdn Berhad, PSSB, that we will discuss in this subtopic. There are several major issues that lead to the failure of the PSSB, especially in the corporate governance and performance of the company. First of all, the main issue that has been hot or that has been highlighted was about the sales with huge debt. In the year of 1988, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad bring his friend, which is Eric Chia, to run Perwaja, to run the company, and trying to turn it around. But unfortunately, both of them failed to turn around the company. And at that time, Tun give full authority to Eric Chia to do what was necessary to reverse PSSB performance and report directly to him. At this time, another 2 billion was pumped into PSSB with government funding and loans from Bank Bumiputra and Employees Provident Fund (EPF), with the amount of 860 million and 830 million respectively. The new facilities were built in Terengganu and in Kedah plant as well at that time. Eric Chia helmed PSSB for around, or Eric Chia served PSSB for around 7 years. Initially, Eric Chia seems was succeeding to run or to turn the PSSB in turning around the company, but until no avail, there is no history that Eric Chia has made to the PSSB. And instead, after his shock of resignation in mid-year 1995, it was clearly that there was not the case, but the total losses was increased from 1 billion previously to 2.49 billion when he took over, along with liabilities of RM 6.9 billion. PSSB was crippled by additional debt amounting up to RM 5.7 billion. And at the same time, the company was reported a substantial pre-tax losses of RM 376.54 million. It's very, very large amount. The losses were claimed to be due to the expansions of project involving the rolling mill building in Gurun, Kedah. And despite the losses, unsurprisingly, PSSB still secured a second loan of RM 600 million that has been approved by EPF. So surprisingly, why EPF still approved on the second loan of RM 600 million ringgit Malaysia? And at the end of the day, the total amount of that was to be around 10 billion ringgit Malaysia. So PSSB was held out with huge amount of that during the era of Eric Chia and Tun Mahathir Mohamad. Besides the settled with huge debt, PSSB also involved in a criminal breach of trust. The issues of criminal breach of trust was also play an important role in PSSB scandals. And during the era of Eric Chia as a managing director in the year 1988 until 1995, there were several huge sums which believed to have been smuggled from PSSB. And this case came to light only a few years after Eric's resignation, and after the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Agency MACC began investigating PSSB in 1996, but it was too late because Eric Chia already resigned from PSSB. Some of Eric's misdeeds are the honestly authorizations of RM 76.4 million for a lump sum technical assistance agreement TAA payment to a Japanese company NKK Corporation through an associate company account to NSK, which is on Friedrichs Sham Enterprise. Incorporated account at American Express Bank in Hong Kong as a special purpose entity as PE in this case. Such case came into the light when it was discovered that NKK was actually a non-existent company. In fact, Frilsham's $1 million account was closed on July 28 in 1994, 5 months after 76.4 million was transferred to the account. But however, it has been reported that the payment has been a benefit to Sakyo Corporation, a company associated with Shahril, sons of Shamsuddin Abdul Qadir, Mahathir Kohir, and crony with Eric Chia. Eric has also approved payment of 76.4 million, which was the same amount, but not previously without any approval of Board of Director and Tendering Committee of Perwaja Rolling Mills and Development Sdn. And both of these offences are believed to have been committed by Eric Chia. And Eric Chia and his roles of Managing Director on November 4, 1993 until February 22, 1994. Although the SCA's probes on Perwaja Steel was started in 1996, no one had been implicated until 9 October 2004, where Eric Chia was arrested and charged under criminal breach of trust during Tun Abdullah Ahmad Badawi's premiership. Moreover, the management irregularities in PSSB was another major issue where it made the company to become insolvent and become in another list of Malaysia huge scandal. The management irregularities can be shown where the new management of PSSB under Kin Steel Berhad prepared an internal report when it claimed that there was dubious maintenance contract amounting up to RM 292 million that include a contract amount of 200 ringgit per month to a company for gardening, cleaning and vehicle maintenance. Apart from that, in 1997, the company internal report reported that 967 million had been transferred to Mahsun Enterprise, a company closely associated with Eric Chia and along with the companies that associated with Koh Mah San and Ng Kim Lim without any confirmations from the board of directors. There was also RM 107 million has been transferred to Mahsan Enterprise without the support of any document. And at the same time, the contract worth RM 103 billion has been awarded to the same company without any proper documentation. Another cases of management irregularities was proved to be through the contract the Tompei contract to a Japanese firm, Tomen, at a higher rate of US$3 per metric tons of ore purchase, and when the typical commission internationally was about RM 0.5 per ton. And additionally, the inaccurate audit in PSSB financial health showed that an internal audit which was incorporated in December 1995 was alleged to be an array of management irregularities in PSSB finances due to inaccurate accounting record, and million of ringgit is apparently authorized contract among Malaysian and foreign company. And in one case, which is its subsidiary named Perwaja Rolling Mills and Development, has US$50 million in paid up capital and borrowing exceeding US$800 million. It was a huge or a large amount of money for Perwaja Rolling Mills and Development. And interestingly, a report from independent auditor, which is at that time is Cooper and Lee Brand, who was instructed by former Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister at that time is Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim to examine PSSB 1988's insolvency status had always been unqualified until the company became bankrupt. So this is very surprised that company who have company who has financial difficulties, and then who have what we call it suspected to have fraud cases, still unqualified on the audited report until the company became bankrupt. And during the parliament session, Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim did show up the audit result made by the auditor, showing that PSSB was in insolvent condition. The debt was totally up to RM 926 million, and long-term liability total to RM 6 billion, which is including RM 2.125 billion that was made in foreign currency. The amount was not included with the loan made in Japanese yen currently from value of RM 1.245 billion, which was incurred by Ringgit Malaysia currency. It was very huge amount of money that involved in this case. And next we will check on how to address all these issues, all the corporate governance issues that has been done in PSSB by Eric Chia and all his all his fraud group of people. And now let us look at on how to address all the issues that have been highlighted in PSSB or Perwaja Steel Sdn Bhd. Corporate governance is actually a system by which the business are directed and controlled. A company with a good principle of corporate governance usually outperform other companies and attract many investors. And principle of good corporate governance can underpin the integrity and efficiency of a company, while principle of bad CG can weaken a company potential, causing long-term damage to a company reputation, or a company may even resort to bankruptcy. It will increase the reputation risk of that company as well. And for the case of PSSB did appear like no over a shining example of a commercially questionable and poorly executed enterprise that predictably failed. Despite its lavish funding, the company was unable to manufacture steel fully. It suffered from a chronic operative issues and crushing debt load together with stiff foreign exchange losses on heavy borrowing overseas. Or foreign loan example from Japan. And although both internal and external report confirmed that the corporate was bleed white, almost nothing was done to bring the culprit to justice and recover the fund. Based on the issues that have been discussed previously, there are two principles that can be related to such issues that occurred in Perwaja Steel. One of these is disclosure and transparency. The first principle is about the disclosure and transparency. In PSSB or Perwaja Steel, the steel maker should be transparent and willing to provide clear information to its shareholders and stakeholders. For example, employees can disclose a new blueprint of an innovation product to the top management and board of directors so that Perwaja Steel can develop and improve its operation in steel making processes. Another example can be disclosing financial statement with an accurate and truthful. When we talk about the financial statement, the proper audit must be done in order to show the status of the company financial health or financial condition. And the transparency in financial statement of the company, especially Perwaja Steel itself, ensures that the stakeholders can have high confidence in the decision making and management processes in a particular company. And apart from the transparency, the disclosure of material that concern with the company's performance and activity should be accurate and within time in order to ensure that all investors have access to a clear, factual information which accurately reflect the financial, social and environmental positions of the company. And Perwaja Steel should clarify and make publicly known the roles and responsibility of the board and management to provide shareholders with a high level of accountability. The second principle is about the board of director duties. In terms of the CG, when it comes to the board of directors, their duties must be consist of governing the company by establishing a broad policy and objective, as well as selecting, appointing, supporting and reviewing the performance of the chief executive or managing director. The board of directors must ensure that the availability of adequate financial resources are there. And this is what happened to PSSB as an example to a bed of corporate governance in the context of board of director and committees. And every single decision must be made and accepted by everyone, which is include the shareholders and the stakeholders in the company, which is to ensure a better performance in a company. For example, Perwaja Steel, and especially in terms of financial health and condition. What was done by Eric Chia during his tenure in Perwaja Steel must be taken as an example where he took decision by himself which is related to personal interest without discussing properly with the board of directors and the main key people involved in Perwaja Steel. And overall, the committees of audit governance, nomination, finance, remuneration and corporate social responsibility in Perwaja Steel, for example, must be well established without any practice of cronyism, nepotism and personal interest. Now let us look at the conclusions of these case of Perwaja Steels. And for the conclusions of this case study, a poor corporate governance has brought Perwaja Steel to become insolvent and be in the list of major scandals happen in Malaysia, especially during the Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad premiership. It has been one of the case study regarding the failure of CG in Malaysia, and such scandal is still haunting the nation among the people, especially the taxpayer until now, due to the huge losses of amount which is in billion ringgit Malaysia. And based on what have been discussed overall, there are a few recommendations that can be suggested in enhancing the corporate governance for the company like PSSB. First of all, Perwaja Steel must establish a well-qualified board of directors and evaluate their performance. The board must be comprised of directors who are knowledgeable, experienced, and have expertise relevant to the business that Perwaja Steel was involved in, as well as they must be qualified, competent, and has a robust ethics and integrity. Having a diverse background, skill set, and also sufficient time toward committing to their duties. This can be done by reviewing the board mandate to assess whether the directors are fulfilling their duties and undertake meaningful evaluations of their performance. Another step can be done by giving new directors an orientation to familiarize them with the business, the duties and the board's expectation, meanwhile reserving time in board meeting for an ongoing education regarding business and governance matters. Secondly, PSS Perwaja Steel and its management must emphasize integrity and ethical dealing. Not necessarily that the director must declare conflict of interest and refrain from voting on matters in which there have been an interest, but however, a general culture of integrity in business dealing and of respect and compliance with law and regulation without fears of accusation is very, very crucial. And in order to create and cultivate this kind of culture, the company should adopt a conflict of interest policy, a code of business conduct that set out the company requirement and process to report and deal with non-compliant, and as well as a whistleblower policy. And at the same time, the company can make sure that someone responsible or oversight and manage of this policy and procedure. And last but not least, the company that have a history in a failure of corporate governance, like Perwaja Steel, shall be taken as an example in ensuring the other companies to improve their corporate governance. It can be done through the internal and external audit. In this case, Perwaja Steel should audit the behavior of those who work for a company and do it so on a regular basis. Perwaja Steel should hire an external audit or consulting firm to examine their corporate policies and behavior, auditing the manager, owners, and employees' behavior and attitude will make everyone responsible for the following rules and maintaining responsible behavior. With that, we end our presentation on the case of Perwaja Steel's neighborhood from the year 1980s until 2030s. With that, we end our presentation and thank you.